Hey everybody, doing a website audit for JustJosh.tech. So here's an interesting thing about this website right here. So when we type in the URL, it immediately redirects to bestlaptop.deals. So I'm not sure. I guess the biggest question I have here is, is just Josh.tech supposed to be redirect? Did they buy that domain? And are they going to, basically, are they in the middle of creating a new website, or was this domain gotten to basically just add to this website here? And this website is planning to be laptop deals. But we'll audit the site that it's redirecting to first, because that domain only redirects here. So let's take a look at what we got here. All right, so the overall site authority is on the lower end. Looks like the site just started. Traffic is up pretty significantly, just right after the first start. So it looks like they got some good things going for them. Keywords, they have a lot of keywords right off the bat. Not a lot in the top three, all considering with how many keywords that they have. So we'll look a little bit more into that as we go along. From what I can see here, the overall website, let's look at it has a lot of URLs, it has about 1,300 URLs, which now is starting to make a little more sense on why they're ranking for so many keywords. When we look at this website here, there's a lot of blog content, a lot of individual pages on each laptop, different reviews. So there's a lot of pages, which is definitely going to help with overall traffic and keyword growth, because there's just going to be a massive amount of opportunity out there, especially when people are looking for particular laptops. So getting in those top positions are probably going to be is going to be super important, because this is, when people are trying to compare products, they're a lot of times just going to Google or going to ChatGPT, and they're just typing in the product, and usually the first few results are the ones that they're going to look at. When we look at this, some of the top issues, we have some page titles missing, not too many, so but still something that needs to be addressed. The 404 errors will eventually be an issue. Basically just content not being found. Server errors, images over 100 kilobytes. So we have 227 images over 100 kilobytes. That's going to really slow down the site overall. The page titles, meta descriptions, things like that, these are how people are going to be clicking to your site. This is what's showing up on Google. It needs to entice them to click to your site over others. So when those things aren't showing up properly, or they're cut off, like on mobile or even on desktop, that's going to reduce certain opportunity, even if you are in those top positions. We're seeing, header tags missing. This is how Google, basically, this is the first thing that Google's looking at when it's trying to decide what your page is about. Multiple H1 tags, that means you have multiple of these titles on your page, and now Google is starting to get confused. Okay, what is the main topic of this page? So that's definitely something that wanna address. There's some security issues that aren't crucial, but again, all deals with site authority. If Google doesn't trust your site or doesn't want to bring users there because of those security issues, that could eventually affect traffic down the road. When we go here, let's start looking at a few of the keywords here. So JustJosh laptops. So the main keyword is ranking for that, or the main homepage is ranking for that, which is good if that's the branding that we're trying to go off of. A lot of, basically just standard content around laptops, brand names, things like that. So these are all doing really good. The problem is, again, the majority of the content is not in those top positions. Some of the ways that you would go about, making some of this content rank a little bit better is when we're looking at the laptops. We should add a little more content to these pages. I think, we have good video reviews. Taking those videos, we can, repurpose those videos into written content, add them to these pages, split things up so that the users are getting the good content first, but we want to make the users work for it a little bit. We want them to stay on the site for longer. So adding a little more content to this top area here, moving some of this down, and then filtering in, these links, which I assume are probably affiliate links. Yeah, looks like they're affiliate links here, straight to Amazon. So that's fantastic as well. When we look at some of the blog content, this is how, without knowing exactly how the site is set up, or like what the purpose of some of, the difference between the blog content and then the standard review content on each laptop, I can understand how we would want to keep some of the, product pages shorter so that they're getting the definitive answer right off the bat, and that probably helps with revenue a little bit. But in regards to, bringing people to your site first, these pages, from the looks of it, probably aren't ranking super high. Let's see here. Let's throw in this content into SEMrush here. So this is one of many tools that we can use to research some content. Pull in some of the main keywords that are being used, or at least what SEMrush is assuming Google is finding within the page. And then as that's going through and analyzing that content, we can go back to the site and just kind of overall analyze what we're seeing here in regards to user experience. So right off the bat, most people are assuming that there should be, some sort of hero image or title. The best laptop at the best price is great for the content, but right off the bat, when the user gets to the site, you're asking them to make a decision immediately, especially if they're hitting your homepage. And a lot of users, when they're hitting your homepage, aren't wanting to make a decision immediately. Now, they aren't actively thinking that. It's just immediately right off the bat, they're getting decision fatigue. We see the best laptops for the best price, and then now all of a sudden we have 6 different places that we can click, instead of just having kind of a, when you invite someone over to your home and they walk in, when they pull up to the house, they see your house, they see the yard, presentation, kind of the curb appeal of a house. Now when you walk in, you get deeper and you see the kitchen and you see the bedrooms and everything like that. Think of your website as kind of the curb appeal, and you don't want to all of a sudden just throw a bunch of, decisions and images right in front of their face, because it's just going to, unfortunately, that's just not how users are typically scanning sites. And so we want to make sure that they have a good introduction to your site first, and then start asking them to make some of these decisions, because there's a lot to look at on this page. And I think this, although the content is good and it's super helpful, we just want to make sure that users stick around long enough and navigate to the right places without feeling sometimes anxious when they enter a site. Let's go back here. We went to the wrong place. Okay, so overall readability is a little low. Tone of voice, good. SEO is lower than what you would want for a site with this authority. So the content on the site is super, super important, especially for a site with low authority. We need to, these almost have to be perfect to get them to rank well. The readability, basically what this is saying is, there might be, let's see what it's looking at for readability. Okay, so for a typical site with these type of keywords, the content's a little low. So the big suggestion here is increase the word count on this site. We're at 944. Target, we're probably, somewhere around 1,600 to 2,000. That's going to help the site rank a little bit better. The rule of thumb that I have is always try to be somewhere in the 1,000 to 1,200 range in general. And then based on the topic and the type of keywords that you're trying to rank for, you just want to make sure that you're meeting those standards compared to what everybody else that's ranking for that keyword is, because for some reason Google is liking websites with a higher word count, or content with a higher word count, that is trying to rank for these particular keywords. So framework, laptops, if we go to Google and we type in we can see framework. Reddit will always be up there, because that's where a lot of people are looking for content. This is really good, what people are saying. So this content right here is, so framework 13, developer's dream. Is that the content that we are on? So framework 13 with Gen 5 review, a few key tweaks, and what's ranking here is framework 13, a developer's dream, just too darn expensive. So that one is ranking higher, but this is the YouTube video. So this is the importance of the videos. So that's fantastic, but the exact content and blog content isn't necessarily ranking. And obviously, as you know, because there's written content as well as video content, different users like to look at and read content different ways. So it's good that you're doing both, but the blog specifically that you're trying to rank for this keyword isn't necessarily showing up, but you do have content that is showing up here, so that's good as well. The biggest call outs, obviously, like I said, the user experience, kind of giving them a good introduction to your site before hitting the user with a bunch of questions and options to click on. And then obviously, like we looked up here, just making sure that the site is fast, that Google is reading the site as well and knows exactly what each page is about, as well as looking for, in your content is reaching out to the correct user, and the content that you're writing is hitting higher up in the rankings. The other thing that definitely we're calling out here with the website is the low authority. So right now Google just doesn't trust your website yet, and I think that's something of note. Although you are getting a decent amount of organic traffic, so things are going well, but we need to increase this authority if we expect more users to enter the site. So those are the few ways to do that is optimizing content, increasing the keyword rankings, backlinking, so making sure that your reviews and your comparisons are showing up on other people's sites, like they're coming to your site, finding your content helpful, and linking to it through their own content. All of this stuff is super important to increase that overall authority. So basically, backlinking, if you don't know what that is, basically it's a vote, actual user's vote to Google saying, hey, trust this site, we like this site. So those are super important, especially with the amount of keywords that you're ranking for. Backlinking is probably going to be your biggest friend here, and making sure that that you're getting more of those, especially for the amount of keywords that you're already ranking for. It's definitely the way to go, and the thing to prioritize when trying to increase your authority score. So that is it for the JustJosh.tech review.